What's up, my man?
Drew, my guy, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Shit, can't complain. Congrats on the engagement.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. I took a week off basketball for the first time in my life to do it, so it was worth it though. It went perfect, so that's good.
Yeah, I remember day after the finals, you said you were going out of the country. I said, "Oh yeah, he's celebrating a little bit."
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
So let's
How
get
you
right.
doing? Everything good?
You said what?
Is everything good with you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Summertime in the gym. Hard to complain these days, you
I
know.
love that you've been doing all the training stuff too. You know what I mean? I knew a couple years back when you told me you were doing it and stuff like that, but it looks like you just keep taking it to another level, which is awesome. So
I appreciate that, man. I got some good guys that I train that keep me focused. I like it a lot.
that's awesome.
So let's get right to it, man. We got the new book, Stop Bullshitting Yourself, out now. We got a recent engagement, and we have back-to-back years where Pure Sweat Fam is holding up that Larry OB. Have you taken time to smell your flowers, or is it hard to flip that switch of being in grind mode the whole time?
Man, to be honest with you, I never do. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where there are certain moments that snap me back. You know, it's really fun now. I have nieces and nephews that are getting into basketball and they love watching, especially my clients play. And when I bring them to a game and, they're sitting courtside or one of the guys comes over and daps them up or, signs their jersey, they get a big smile. And it makes me realize like, wow, this is really cool just because I know when I was younger, I got to go to one NBA game a year and I looked forward to that game. Now, me going to, 60, 70 NBA games a year, sitting courtside, going to NBA finals games, and doing the work that I do where I talk to all my clients almost on a daily basis. It's become normal. It's not something that I look at as like, wow, look at all the things you've accomplished. It's more of just like, this is your path, and you just got to make sure you keep doing everything that got you on this path and keep doing those things so that you stay on this path. But I never really stop and appreciate the journey that I've been on. It's more so just I try to stay in the present as much as I can, kind of try to keep my head down and keep doing the little things that got me here. The things that I did to get in this position were studying film more than anybody, looking at analytics, having conversations with people, picking, gurus and great coaches and great trainers, picking their brains. And I still do all those things. I still do more film work than anybody, even though, that I've been able to, stamp myself among some of the top trainers. It's just not something that I'm ever going to slow down. And, the second that I do is the second that I'll probably hang up my shoes and try something else because I think it's a disservice if you're not doing everything you can to help these guys out. I think they need to find somebody that will, and I'm gonna keep making sure that I'm doing anything and everything to help my clients be in the best possible scenarios so that they can do everything they need to do so that they can succeed at the highest level. And so, as much as I push them, I continue to push myself, and I do enjoy life. That's something that I've learned to do better. I used to go fly all over the world and do clinics and then get right back on an airplane. Now I'll try to, spend a day or two in whatever city I'm in and enjoy the fruits of the labor and hard work. But, other than that little slight adjustment, it's all gas, no brakes. And I think I'll always be like that.
Yeah, I saw you on the jet ski a month or two ago, so I know you take the time every now and then.
No doubt. I mean, it's like the old saying, everyone says, work hard, play hard. But I always say, yeah, but work comes first. You know what I mean? Work is the first, thing when you say work hard, play hard. And so, I do just, it's just who I am. It's the thing that made me do lemonade stands when I was younger and cut grass and dog sit and do all those things to make money. And then it was the 5 a.m. morning, meeting up at Webster Groves High School to shoot 1,000 shots so that I could get the college scholarship. It's just that's who I've always been. And so, there are people that are like, man, you're at the top. You got to enjoy life more. You make enough money now. You got to, do other things. And I'm like, you know what? This is actually what brings me peace. This is what brings me happiness. Is the grind. Is the, when I'm on vacation, like a true vacation. I'm thinking about all the things I should be doing. I'm not able to just relax on a beach like I probably should be able to. So, Yeah, I mean, this is what I'll always be doing. It's just I love grinding, I love putting in work, and I love feeling like I'm deserving of all the things that have come with it.
Shout out to Webster Groves High School. So you mentioned Kid Drew a couple minutes ago going to NBA game or like one game a year. So most recent NBA Finals, you got Chet on one team, Hallie on another team. As you're watching these games, what lens or lenses are you watching the game through? Because in my mind, there's Kid Drew, who's just a hoops fan. There's Trainer Drew, who's taking notes. Last year, you could kind of have the lens of I'm a Celtics fan, but this year you got a horse on both teams, horse in both races. So what lens or lenses were you watching these games through?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I can't watch basketball to really enjoy it anymore. It sucks. It's just I have such a detailed mentality, and I'm constantly watching for ways that my guys can improve and trying to give them nuggets throughout the game. Especially when there's guys on both teams, because then I'm looking, both offense and defense, and I'm thinking, strategically and tactically for both guys. Um, Last year was a little more fun. Like I told Jason, I said when he was in the finals and thinking back, we started working together when he was like 13 years old. And so, last year he was what 26 years old. So we had been working together for literally half of his life. He, for
Mhm.
13 years. But I didn't have anybody in Dallas too. So I was able to still watch as a trainer and as somebody that would give Jason advice to keep making adjustments so that he could keep being better. But then during the game, I was also able to enjoy it a little bit because I was able to like celebrate the successes. Whereas like game one, I'm sitting, a couple rows, off the court, and Tyrese hits a game winner. And I found myself celebrating, but I was also like, I can't celebrate too much because I know Chet is going to look at me and be like, oh, really, bro? Like, you wanted him to win? And I was like, you always want both guys to do well. Like, I told Chet that after the game. I go, hey, just so you know, I was celebrating when he hit the shot. If you would have hit a game winner, I'd have celebrated too. So, um, but then you obviously have the low moments too. Like, game seven, when Tyrese went down, I left the game and I went down in the locker room and spent the rest of the game with him in the locker room. And so I wasn't able to celebrate for Chet, and I felt bad that I wasn't able to like do that, but I just wasn't in the right headspace to because I felt so bad for Tyrese at that moment. And so I always say that it's kind of like a parent. And as a parent, you're only as happy as your saddest kid. If you have one kid that's going through it, you feel like you're going through it too. And until all your kids are happy, you don't feel like you can enjoy that same peace of mind because you just want all your kids to be at their brightest moments. And that's how I feel like as a trainer, when if I have 10 of my 12 guys that are really succeeding, but two of them are struggling, I'm consumed by the two that are struggling. How do I get them out of their funk? How do I get them out of their slump? How do I help them get back right on the right track? How do I, get them to regain their confidence? And so that's just how I always think. I always think of the best can always get better. I always joke around with campers when I'm doing camps and I'm saying, who's the best shooter in the world? And pretty unanimously, everybody says Steph Curry at the same time. And I go, you realize he misses 55% of his threes. So there's room for improvement. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that's how I think. I always think the best can always get better. And I'm constantly trying to come up with solutions for their problems so that they can find different levels that they never thought were possible.
So solutions to the problems during these NBA finals, you're prepping Chet, you're prepping Hallie. How much of your guys' preparation is mental? How much of it is the tactical on the court stuff?
Yeah, it just depends. Each guy's different. You know what I mean? Some guys really struggle with confidence, and so you're spending a majority of your time on confidence. Some guys, really struggle, game in, game out consistency. So then you're spending more time, strategically and tactically to make sure that you're putting them in the right spot so that they can feel like a good flow and feel that consistency coming throughout their game. So I think it depends. There's been a ton of articles written of how much time I've spent with Hallie on his mentality and being aggressive, and that's a nonstop thing that I have to spend time on. As a basketball player, he's a wizard. He's a savant. He's one of the best playmakers and passers that this game has ever seen. Not just now, like ever. Like, you know what I mean? As far as a guy with a high assist turnover ratio, a guy that makes his teammates better. And so for him, it's like all mental. Whereas there's other guys that are, like a Joel Embiid, he goes into every game thinking like I'm the baddest man on planet Earth. Like no one can guard me. But he knows he's not going to be getting single covered. He's going to be getting doubled and defenses thrown at him that are basically reinvented so that they can try to stop him. So now for him, it's a lot more strategy wise. Where should you be catching the ball so they can't double you? Where your teammates should be cutting, all of that kind of stuff. So, and again, Joel wasn't always like that. Early on in his career, he did have to get encouraged and gassed up more so that he could feel what he feels now. But so I think each and every guy has their own struggles and stresses and problems, and you just have to constantly evolve and grow and be very hyper aware of what they need at any given time. And so I always relate it to like you're almost like a doctor at some times where basically you have to constantly check in and you have to constantly evaluate what needs to be corrected or fixed. And then you're also like a surgeon sometimes where sometimes you need to step away and just be like, hey, I don't need to be every day like hunkering down on them. I'm going to give them their space. When they need something, they'll come to me, and then it's my job to fix the problem that they kind of expresses there. So you have to kind of go back and forth. Some guys need the doctor, constant touches. Some guys need the surgeon where hey, I'll come to you when I have problems and I need you to help them fix it.
Yeah, I like that. A time and a place for both based on who's in front of you. When when it is tactical, so you're breaking down film or chopping it up, whatever it is, when there are tactical things that you're speaking on, what topics, I guess, are you mainly speaking about? Is it what shots to shoot?
It's
Because I would imagine
it's
there's
everything.
because I would imagine there's like a maneuvering of not stepping on the coach's game plan.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm good friends with the majority of the coaches that my clients play for, especially the stars. I'm in constant contact with those guys, and it's basically us all working together. It might be something that in the Cleveland series was the first series where Tyrese basically they just full out face guarded him the full court, and he was really struggling to get himself involved in the game. And so then it's me chopping up film of Steph Curry, who obviously gets face guarded a lot, and then saying, hey, he's off the ball a lot more get game, like pitches and chases, and he also screens more. He does this. I'm finding solutions. I'm talking through them with Tyrese. Then I'm also sending them over to Rick Carlisle. Then me and Rick are getting on the phone and we're talking about how does all of that work within their offense? How does it play out in the bigger picture? And then we come up with a solution for the problem altogether. The one thing you don't want to do is you never want to step on toes, and you also don't want your players to be battling out there, with their team or with their coaches or with their teammates, etc. So I think that's where a lot of trainers and coaches go wrong is the coaches will blame the trainers. Well, they're working on the wrong stuff. And the trainers will blame the coaches. They're not putting them in the right actions. Instead of saying, hey, guys, all that matters is that we get results for the player. So let's come up with a solution. Let's see how it all fits in. And the trainer should ultimately be helping that player become the best player they can be for that coach and for that team. And then the coach should be saying, working with the trainer and the player and saying, okay, how can I best use you? And how can we best enhance all your skill set so that you can give us the most that we can possibly get out of you? And if you guys all work together, then what happens is everybody's happy and ultimately the players getting the best results possible. And there are times where, not everybody agrees, and that happens all the time. And what you have to do is you just have to say, okay, you got to understand as a trainer, your job is to prepare that player for the role that they're going to be in for that coach and for that team. And they can still work on the role that they want to eventually have, but they have to master the role that they're currently in so that they can ultimately give the team the best chance of winning games, which is the ultimate skill a player can have.
You said sometimes not everybody agrees. So an example would be like their coach wants the player to be in this role, but as the trainer, you see their ceiling to be higher than that. You feel like they're capable of more, or what's an example of that?
Yeah, that'd be an example. That'd be a good example. There'd be other times where you have a certain player that maybe they're a 6'7" player that at the high school level, the coach is saying, hey, I need you to be my 4 or 5 man and play down low and set screens. And then the trainer is saying, hey, if you want to ever play college ball, you're going to have to be a 6'7" guy is like a 2 guard or a 3 these days in college. And if you want to be in the NBA, that means you're probably going to be, either a small forward or a shooting guard as well. Okay, so how do we all make this work? You know what I mean? And so that's a great example. Another great example is maybe you have somebody that is not a great 3-point shooter, but they've been working on it hard in workouts. And you have a coach that says, hey, I don't want you shooting threes. And the player's like, I've been working hard at it, and I know I can make them now. And the trainer's saying, you know what, don't listen to coach, shoot threes. You're going to have to be able to shoot threes in college. Well, there's a conflict that you have to resolve. If the high school coach is saying, don't shoot threes, and the trainer's saying, shoot threes, now the player has to make a choice, a decision. And they're pulling them 2 ways instead of pushing them in the same direction. So that's where you just got to talk to everybody. You know what I mean? There's times where certain players will say, hey, I think I should be getting this many ISO. Chet Holmgren's a great example. Chet, he is unbelievable isolation player. He has an unbelievable bag in the low post. Last year, he averaged like 1 post up per game. He knows if he went and played for, the Washington Wizards last year, he would have probably averaged 25 points a game. He would have probably got 6 to 8 ISOs a game. He would have got more, post up, post touches, elbow touches. He would have played a completely different game. But for the Thunder said, hey, Chet, we need you to be a pick and pop guy, a pick and roll guy, get out in transition. We need you to buy into defense, block shots, be in the right rotations. And you know what? Every once in a while, you can sprinkle in if you have a mismatch, we'll throw you the ball and go get a bucket. But again, Chet, if he wants to be a superstar, there's going to be some things he has to do outside of those things. So it's how do you impact winning? Impacting winning this year meant buy into defense, pick and pops, pick and rolls, play within the offense, play off of J-Dub, play off of Shea. And eventually he'll grow into a bigger role. But he couldn't try to be a bigger role guy now because that would have hurt the team. So that's a great example of, we didn't step on the Thunder's toes. We said, hey, this is what you need to do to help impact winning. Go do those things. Even though you're capable of more, you're going to have to take a step back for the betterment of the team. And then, eventually you'll get an opportunity to showcase what you're able to do. But winning should be the number one focus when it comes to development. And I think not many people, Chet actually had a quote in the playoffs that was really good, where he said, everybody wants to win until it's inconvenient. Everybody wants to win when they're the man. Everybody wants to win when it's their way. But if you have to win by sacrificing, now not everybody wants to win. There's a lot of players that are actually losers that think they want to win, but they only want to win when it's convenient for them. And so that's what I always think about when it comes to development is how do you help these guys impact winning at the highest level? And sometimes that means getting them mastering a role that's a little bit less than what they're capable of, but it's for the betterment of the team.
For sure. So I like what you said about Hallie getting face guarded. So the adjustment is basically like boomerang actions, get actions. I noticed that a lot as the finals went on, just like the random movement, the pass, get it back. I also, in game 1, the broadcast showed a mic'd up thing of Carlisle in the huddle saying you can't make pocket passes against the team. And so that's really cool to hear you speak on your guys' communication because as I was watching that, I'm thinking like pocket pass, that's a skills trainers work on. So it's cool to have those perspectives. What's another example of during the finals, a game-to-game adjustment that you and Hallie made or you and Chet made?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of little adjustments like all the time. You know what I mean? It's just something like it might be a certain way you attack a big, you know what I mean? Like some people are in drop coverage where they show chest. Some people are in drop coverage where they open up. If they open up, you got to take an extra dribble. That, drags the defense more, which opens up shooters more. And like, I don't think people realize how many in-game adjustments are actually happen during an actual game. It could be during the game. Like I'm sitting courtside yelling certain things. Hey, you're coming off east-west too much. Got to get north-south. It might say, hey, take an extra dribble. That's going to open up a shooter more. Hey, get more hang dribbles against a certain player, get outside their hips more. I mean, it is a never stopping process of, it's a game of chess. It's a game of chess where you do something, then they counter, and then you have to counter, and they counter, and you counter. And it's funny being on both sides because the exact adjustments. Because I watch every single Thunder game, I watch every single Pacers game. I know both coaches. I know exactly what their adjustments are going to be, and so you're just constantly playing a game of chess. You're trying to make the adjustments before the other team makes the adjustments, and that's what it is. I mean, that's what basketball is too. It's trying to equip your players with as much knowledge and as much IQ as you can, so that they can make those decisions and make those adjustments on the fly. And then when they can't, that's when you have to step in and help them see the solutions that they don't see.
So help me understand. I'm very excited that you're on here. Very grateful to get your perspective on it. I want to understand better how Halliburton views the game. A lot of his shots during the finals felt, I guess, random to me, like the floaters off the ball screens, the deep threes, the threes where he holds it for like a second and a half, 2 seconds before going up. Me watching it, I feel like those are shots he can get at any point. So to me, it feels like there's this switch that flips scoring mode versus facilitating mode. As his trainer, you're with him every day, talking about the game all day, every day. How does he view the game as a whole?
I mean, winning. You know what I mean? Like if you said, "Hey, Tyrese, you can go downhill and dunk the ball, or you can create a wide open three for your teammate and get them going," he would choose that every time. He loves making other people better, and so that's how he views the game of basketball. He views the game of basketball as a team versus me kind of thing. It's one of those things when earlier this season when they called him overrated and sometimes he doesn't get the respect around the league. He's like, listen, if we had a one-on-one tournament, I would not be one of the best players in the NBA. You know what I mean? I'm not a great ISO defender. I'm not a great ISO offensive player, even though statistically he's one of the top five isolation efficiency players. He averages, I think, 1.18 points per possession, which I think was first in the NBA this year. He was the most efficient isolation player, but it's because he picks and chooses his spots instead of like high volume. But he looks at everything as us versus them, not me versus you. You know what I mean? And so that's what I think I love about him. It's the reason why they went to the conference finals last year and they went to the finals this year is he makes others better. And he plays random basketball because that's the hardest basketball to guard. That's the hardest basketball to predict. He definitely does need me to nudge him a lot of times to be more aggressive scoring. He knows there's a direct correlation. The more aggressive he is, the more that, the Pacers win. But I just think he's such a guy that's I want to make my teammates better. And I know that if I make everybody better, they're also going to play harder on defense. They're also going to, everyone's going to have a team camaraderie is going to be better. It's just he looks at everything holistically instead of singularity. And that's the biggest difference. Most players, they get a bucket, they're like, yeah, I'm feeling good. Whereas Tyrese, if he generates a good shot and they miss it, he's like, that was still a good shot. If we get a bunch of those, we're going to end up winning the game. He looks at everything as the law of averages is going to play out instead of, microly, like every possession is like the most important possession ever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And that's rare nowadays, I feel like, to have that kind of that old school point guard mentality. You mentioned his ability to ISO and he's best in the league. That's how I've feel watching him. Like he's floating, getting outside their hips. I feel like he can go every single time. And so are you saying that it's more so like it's just based on the time and situation? I could float outside the hips, get downhill, or pull the three, but based on like it's all about what the team needs.
Yeah, it's all what the team needs. And again, it's a constant battle. You know what I mean? He's had conversations with me. He's had conversations with a lot of legends about, how do you turn it on and off? As soon as you go into float, get downhill mode every single time, now that changes the way your team is. You know what I mean? Now the ball's sticking more. The Pacers are up there in pace and they're up there in spacing. They're up there in touches. They're up there in assists. Why? Because Halliburton's the engine that makes everybody feel that way. Like if you go watch some of the same teammates that he has go play for other teams, they didn't have non-stick, kind of tendencies like they do now. You'll see guys like Obi Toppin, for instance, in New York. It wasn't like he catches the ball and passes and sprints into a screen and then flashes and then gets it and then passes. And I mean, it's the ball. It's the ball is contagious. You know what I mean? The passing's contagious. The energy's contagious. And so I think that's what you really see is like he really is an engine that generates a certain style of play, and he makes everyone around him better. And I think that you're going to see very similar to Steve Nash back in the day, when you had Steve Nash and you had Hakeem Warwick and you had Amari Stoudemire and you had these guys. I mean, they all look so good, but then when you saw those guys with other teams, they didn't look the same. Like it just wasn't as easy for them. And I remember, I forgot who it was. It was either Hakeem Warwick or Amari Stoudemire. One of them said, I'll never forget, there was a time where I was really tired and I set a screen and I was lazily jogging down the lane. And he's like, I couldn't wait for the next timeout or dead ball. And I remember Steve led me, like he passed it to me where the easiest thing that I could do was catch it and finish it. Like I didn't even want to score. I didn't even want the ball, but the easiest thing to do, the laziest thing to do was to catch and finish it. And I think that's where Hallie is. Hallie will get a lot of people overpaid because they'll look amazing in that system with him. And then they'll go other places and they'll be like, wait a second, that guy doesn't look as good anymore. Well, why? Because you don't have the same system. You don't have the same quarterback. You don't have the same engine. And so that's how he views the game, is just he really loves – he's a great guy. He wants his teammates to succeed. Like he genuinely, in Game 7, when he got hurt, I was back there in the locker room with him, and he's cheering his teammates on. He's like, let's go. Let's make this injury worth it. Like, let's win a ring. Like, like some people would have got back there and been like, I don't want them to win without me, because then people are going to say, they didn't need Tyrese. Not 1 second did he think that. All he wanted was the best for his teammates and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that I think is so valuable, and it's something that doesn't get talked about enough, is just, how great of a teammate he really is.
Yeah, that's like the perfect example of someone you want to build a team around. Perfect example of someone you want to be in the gym with every day. Team oriented, process oriented. So last question I have for you. We live in the world of the second apron. Really hard to have three, even two max guys on the team. Typically, max guys are going to be your ball dominant guys, scoring the most or responsible for the most points. Given the fact that that's the case and the way GMs are constructing rosters is a little bit different, do you see there being any skills that are maybe valued more?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, shooting's a premium. You're basically trying to acquire as many guys that can play defense, make shots, and attack closeouts. The reason I say all of those, because, for a while, the NBA just loved guys that could just catch and shoot wide open shots, because they would have a bunch of isolation like superstars. And then if guys got doubled, then they could just pass it and it was just catch and shoot. Now that you don't have as many ball dominant superstar isolation basketball, they're basically everybody switching everything. And they know the efficiency isn't as high if you're not generating good threes and you're not getting wide open lays. So now it's about having multiple guys that can break the defense down, get driving kicks, let the dominoes kick in. So you get driving kick, driving kick, driving kick, and open up, threes. So I would say you have to be able to play both ways. You see the teams that have guys that are not good at defense, they just pick on you in the NBA. You know what I mean? They pick on you. So it's hard to win with non-defensive guys now, the guys you have to hide on defense. So you have to be able to play defense, have to be able to make shots. Otherwise, spacing gets messed up. If you don't make shots, it's hard to win games. And then if you can put the ball on the floor, it really helps out so that you can have a team that just drive and kick, drive and kick. You look at the Celtics last year. I mean, you had Drew Holiday. He could play defense. He could drive. He could shoot. You had Derek White. Could do all three of those things. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown could do all those things. And then you go, wait, you have Al Horford and Porzingis who can shoot. They can both attack a closeout and they can both defend. Then this year, and you look at the Thunder and you go, wait a second, Shea, he can shoot, he can defend, and he can obviously create. And then you go, J-Dub, he can do all three of those things. Chet can do all those things. Isaiah Hartenstein, you go, well, he can't really shoot from three yet, but guess what? He can drive, make plays, and defend. Smart passer, all those things. And then all the role players, Caruso, you got down the line, Casey Wallace, all of them can shoot, defend, and attack closeout. So that's what the modern day NBA is. It's have a bunch of guys that can, make shots, attack closeouts, and defend. And if you have those, you have a chance of winning.
Drew, I appreciate the time, man. I know you're a busy guy. Summertime especially, you got a lot going on. So I appreciate your time very much.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you. Keep putting on for Dub G. Keep helping guys get better. I love it. Like I told you before we started this thing, like I'm super proud of you to, not only, when you first started out, just wanted to help a couple players, but now you really, poured into studying in the game and doing everything you can to learn as much as possible so you can give back. So keep doing your thing, man. Keep giving back, keep pouring into players and keep helping guys get results.
Yes, sir. You've been showing love since day one, so I appreciate it.
No doubt, man.